Okay, cool. Well, we've got a bunch of people in here, so I think we can probably go ahead and get started. So thanks everybody for joining. My name is Ayla Anderson, and I'm a design advocate here at Abstract. We're really excited to be rolling out support for XD files and supporting Adobe XD through Abstract. Just a quick little background, Abstract started out really from a common need for better design workflow. And so adding XD file support is really just one step of a larger goal that we have and has always been part of our vision from the start. So what we're hoping to accomplish as a product is really to create this space where designers aren't siloed by the tools they choose. We want to create an open and collaborative environment that mirrors some of the communities and tools that developers are able to benefit from and have been benefiting from for a long time now. So we believe that the more file formats we can support and the more that we can work towards being file type agnostic, the more open and collaborative a space we see Abstract becoming for the design community. As I said before, I've got Alden with me here, and he's going to be helping me out with the Q&A section. So if you have any questions that you'd like to make sure get covered in the session, please go ahead and add them in the Q&A, and we'll make sure that we get to them before the end. You can also feel free to put any general discussion items in the chat if you want to chat with each other. So we'll be trying to pay attention to that as well. All right, so here's a little agenda for today. I'm going to start with where we're at with XD. So that's key features and functionalities that you can use with XD files. Then we'll take a look at where we're headed and how you can help us out. And we'll wrap up with some of your questions, and hopefully we can have some time to do a bit of a live walkthrough. So for those of you who've already been testing out XD files as part of the beta group, you may already be aware of most of this, but for everyone else here or anyone else who hasn't seen some of these new features, right now what we have covered is what we consider the core workflow of Abstract. That means being able to import an XD file, creating a branch, opening up an XD file from Abstract, saving and committing the changes you've made back to Abstract, and then merging those changes. So that's the essential branch-based version control that makes up the main tenet of Abstract, and all of that is fully supported with XD files as of right now. We also have support for most of our collaboration features, so you can create collections, leave comments and annotations on artboards in Abstract, send out those review requests and get feedback, and generate public or private share links to any of your work. And then in some more recent releases, we've now also allow you to link libraries, and we can display those library files that your current XD file has access to through the Abstract plugin. There are some other cool features with the Abstract plugin, like quick commit, and some other things that I find really neat. So I'll make sure to go over that in a bit more depth when we're able to get into the tool. I'll also say that the first phase of inspect functionality has also been released. So you'll see that you're now able to inspect some elements of your XD files in that layer detail view in Abstract. That's really cool. That said, there's still a lot of things we'll continue to work on and still plan to do. We've had a great partnership with Adobe so far, and we're very fortunate that they've been willing to work with us as we keep building up our support for XD files. So I will say that we're going to be launching XD file support publicly at or around Adobe Max, which is just a couple days or a couple weeks away now. So we are really excited about that, and we will be working right up until then to make it great. Since we're still in early beta at this point, there's a couple of expectations that we just want to set around what you will experience in Abstract with XD. So the first thing that you might notice is that when you add an XD file to Abstract, you'll see these two segments of the file, the pasteboard and artboards. As I'm sure you're already aware, if you're using XD as a tool, the difference between Sketch and Adobe XD is that Sketch has pages and XD does not. So in Abstract, we've broken down the file preview into this tab called Artboards, which will preview all your artboards in your document, and this tab called Pasteboard, which will show you every element in your XD canvas that's just sitting in the canvas, not on the artboard. So as far as getting XD files into Abstract, this works essentially the same way for both Sketch and XD files. So you'll be able to click the Add File button in your project and click Import File. If you've used Abstract before, you'll know that this used to say Create Sketch File and Import Sketch File. And in the XD beta, you will be able to import XD files, even though it says Import Sketch File. And I have a build where, as you can see, this is already updated, and when we go public, that's what you'll see as well. So one thing what we can't do right now is create an XD file from Abstract. So in the dropdown, it will say Create Sketch File, and that's because we're still working on that. So that's something that will come up as we take a look at some of the things that are coming next. But as far as how the files perform in Abstract, it's pretty much the same. So we can go ahead and add our files in Abstract, and like we would with any sketch file, and then we can create a branch and open up those files, untracked if we just want to look at them, or open up in the branch and start committing changes, either directly in XD or in Abstract. So a recent addition to the beta is the ability to have better access to libraries from the plugin panel right in XD. If you're already using XD with your team, you might have some shared files through Adobe Cloud, but in Abstract, if you have a project where you've designated files to be used as libraries, you can see them in the plugins panel in XD. So I'm going to try this out. Maybe this is a good point to just jump in the tool and show you how we're able to do this, and then I can show you some of those things in the plugin panel. So over here in Abstract, I have a project that has some XD files in it. So I've got a few files here that are just regular files, and then I have a couple files that I have marked as libraries. You can see that right here if I right-click this, and I've marked it as a library because those have some components in them that I want to be using in other files. So we are able to manage library and component connections very similarly to how we would do within Sketch, which I think is just really important to call out, as we are constantly working toward having full parity in functionality with the different file types that we support. So I'll just go ahead and link a library that I set up earlier in a different library project, just to show you that we can go ahead and do that. So I can go in here, ooh, this is new, and link a library. And I will go ahead and link this library. And you can see that I've got this XD design system with some XD libraries right in here. So I'm going to just go ahead and link this icons library. And that's linking up there, and then it's going to go ahead and show in my linked libraries. And now I will automatically have access to this library in my file once I open up the XD file. So I'm going to go ahead and just open up this product page in Adobe XD. All right, so we've got the XD file open here now, and you can see this plugins panel. So this is where I was noting that we've got some really exciting updates and changes to the panel here. So as you can see, I've got these linked libraries here, and I have the two libraries that I had that were in my project, and I also have the library that's linked. It even tells me that it's a linked library right there in the panel. So we've got these links that say open, and I can go ahead and open those up. But just real quick, before I do that, I want to show you that this is just the Abstract plugin. So if I go back one step here into plugins, you can see this is just a plugin, just like all the other XD plugins that you might have installed. And it works pretty much the same way that all of your other plugins by using the plugins panel. So if I go back into the Abstract plugin, we show you some details here about your file, which is pretty handy. So we show you what project you're working in and specifically what branch you have this file open on. So I think that's really cool. And then we also show you the libraries that you have linked. Something that I think is really neat as well is that we have this Show in Abstract button. So if I select any artboard that I want to and click this Show in Abstract button, what it actually does is brings me to that artboard right within Abstract, where I can see all the commentary that's been done around this artboard, which I think is just really amazing. It's a super quick way to move back and forth the designs that you're working on and the commentary that you've been given on this particular work. So that's just really great. And if I go ahead and click edit again, I'm just going to go right back into my file. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of these libraries. So the way that we are able to link XD libraries right now is by having you click on the open link here and open up one of those files that you want to access. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this buttons XD file. And now I've got access to these buttons, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy them and paste them into my document. So if I paste these in here and go back into my assets panel, now you can see that I have these linked components. So this is really great if I want to have access to library files, and then I can go ahead and change this button in the original file. And if I update that, just like you normally would with cloud documents, it's going to notice those changes right away, and you'd be able to update and save those changes. I'm just going to go ahead and change this to $39, and then we will save. So I can show you in the plugin that you can also do quick commits. So now you see that after I saved, I've got this commit changes button that is available to me in the plugin panel. And if I commit my changes, I have a quick commit ready for me right here. So I can say changed pricing of plant button. And I can commit those changes. So this is new. This is something that hasn't been in our tool yet. We've only had in Sketch. So this is really exciting. And what you see right here now is us generating this preview generation file, which I will talk about in just a bit. But we have improved this experience quite a bit. So now I can go ahead and close this. And now you see that this is a preview generation file, and that we can just go ahead and close it. All right, so let's jump back into the deck and talk about some recent and future developments. So let's look at what's coming up. We're making some really nice progress in terms of what capabilities we have with XD, but obviously this is just the start for us. So we're in the beta now, and we've knocked out some core functionalities of being able to perform those branch-based version control features, as well as manage those files and changes to files through Abstract. So where we'd like to head is really have an equivalent experience in Abstract, regardless of what tool you're using. Right now, there are some pretty sweet things we can do with sketch files. So our next goals are to bring some of those features into XD as well. So if you've been using the Abstract beta with XD already, you might have noticed that one of those great features that we've recently added was this ability to make the quick commit, which I just demonstrated. This is really the ability to pull up that quick commit window and commit my work right in Abstract without leaving XD, so I don't have to break my design flow by switching tools. So this is a great recent addition that I think that we can all really appreciate. Again, for those of you working with XD files already, you'll also be familiar with that preview generation file whenever you make changes. So I'll get into some more details about that. But as you saw, we have recently worked on improving that experience to make sure it's as smooth as we can possibly get it. So we are continuing to work on that, and you will just constantly see improvements around that aspect. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, we've been working on building out the ability to inspect your XD files in Abstract, and the first phase of that functionality has been released. So there are a few things in XD files that you can get specs for now, which is a great step toward our feature parity and our goal of being file type agnostic. So what's next? Right now, whenever we import an XD file or commit changes or merge XD files, we need to generate previews of the updated artboards so you can see those previews in Abstract. We actually do this already with Sketch files, but with Sketch, we're able to do this in the background without opening the file. So due to some limitations with Adobe's APIs, with XD files, we don't really have the ability to generate these previews in the background. So right now, whenever we commit to Abstract, we have to open up that secondary window and grab those previews, and you'll just have to close out the window before moving on. Like I said before, we have a really good partnership with Adobe, and we've requested some more APIs, which would allow us to skip opening up that secondary window. So for now, you can go ahead and close it out. but this is probably the main area we're focused on right now in terms of smoothing out the experience with XD files. So unfortunately, it's dependent on Adobe's ability to provide us some more functionality around that. But I know they're working very hard to release some incredible stuff for Macs, and our understanding is that this should hopefully be resolved really soon. But yeah, as this is still a beta, this is just one of those areas that will continue to improve over time. Beyond that, there are a few other areas that we're looking at as we move forward with XD support. So these aren't really in any particular order, but XD has some incredible native prototyping features, which we would love to be able to support eventually. We're currently working on supporting the built-in prototyping functionality that Sketch has. And as we continue our goal of matching the workflow across all file types, ultimately, we plan to look into supporting XD prototyping as well. So that might include representing the animations, transitions, and linkages that you've built in your project. I'll also add that this is an area where we love to hear from you about in terms of what level of support you'd want or functions you'd like to see, either from XD or Sketch prototyping, actually. So if you have any comments about that, we would definitely love to hear it. We are also working on Adobe Cloud integrations and hoping to be able to do something there. So right now, we aren't able to support files in Adobe Cloud or Sketch Cloud for that matter. So for the time being, those will be unsupported, but we are exploring possible integrations with Adobe Cloud, so stay tuned for that. Next, as I mentioned earlier, we've kind of passed phase 1 with Inspect for XD files. So there's some basic functionality here, but we would really like to continue to work on that. I know that I've seen changes on pretty much a daily basis within our Inspect tool. So we are working, probably someone is working on it as we speak, and more functionality will come to this with time. And lastly, we are exploring the possibility of an abstract Windows client. So we do understand that XD is more of a platform agnostic tool than Sketch. So we are looking into the ability for us to potentially have a Windows app, which would be really nice, especially for designers working on Windows. So this one in particular is a pretty major project. So I would expect to see this further down the line compared to maybe some of these other items here. But that's just a bit of a sneak peek into what we're thinking about. And that's where we're at with some of the key features that we've been looking at, either for improving or smoothing out what you've been experiencing with XD files and Abstract up until today, as well as some major updates that we're hoping to accomplish in the future. And now I just want to add a few things that I'm personally excited about when it comes to pairing Abstract with Adobe XD. So I am a designer as well, and I've been using XD for my personal and professional work since XD itself was in beta. So that's kind of fun to see this come around and see XD files grow so much. And I've really got to say that I think Abstract brings a whole new level of advanced functionality to your design workflow in XD. So one thing that I've experienced with XD is getting my prototype share links just all messed up. I found that it's really easy to forget whether I had generated a new prototype link or updated an existing link, and I wind up resharing links with developers and stakeholders all the time. And that also usually leads to those endless conversations of where's the right link and etc. Since Abstract is here to keep all your versions straight, I see this as really the perfect pairing. I've been playing around with generating a new prototyping link every time I've reached a commit that I feel is like a significant change, and storing those links alongside my designs in Abstract, either as a commit message, a comment on an artboard, or in branch summaries. And this just makes me feel so much more organized and confident about what my stakeholders are seeing. And the other aspect of this pairing, which I'm really excited about, is creating a central hub for cross-functional teams to gather around for both design and prototyping. So with other file types, we're so often as designers having to export out to multiple different tools to get the job done. But since XD's prototyping is really gaining a lot of speed and has come so far, I'm really excited to see us hosting this file type that has flat design and interactive prototyping all in one tool. As you saw earlier in the demo, that show an abstract button where we surface the plugin and allows you to jump back and forth between your design or prototype in abstract and in the tool. I just personally just haven't seen any other integration work that seamlessly between feedback and making changes in the file. So I think we've come a long way already, and it's really fun to see how far we've come and how much more we're going to keep doing. All right, so how you can help us with this. We're doing a lot of things with XD files and with sketch files for that matter that we've just never really done before. Up until now, design files really haven't been put through this Git-based process and version management. So this is new and a deeply challenging area that we're working on. And the stuff we're doing hasn't been seen before. So we appreciate any help that we get specifically from beta groups like this one. So if you're in the beta or thinking about joining the beta, we'd love to hear a couple things from you, such as how your experience has been going and what workflow has been working for you, and also whether anything is blocking you from working. And for those of you who are interested in jumping into the beta, we'd love to hear about what you're hoping or expecting to be able to do with XD files and how you'd like to work on these two tools together. That said, if you do have any feedback for us, whether it's reporting a bug, telling us how your experience is going, requesting features, or anything else related to XD file support in Abstract, please feel free to send an email to xd@abstract.com. We have team members from product management and support monitoring that account. So really any kind of feedback that will help us make this a great experience is definitely welcome, and we will make sure that we're monitoring all of that. All right, so as we wrap up and move on to questions, I want to bring this back around to our main vision of working towards being a file type agnostic tool. We really would like to support any file types, as many file types as possible, and not force teams into silos based on drawing tools that they choose. There are more and more drawing tools and prototyping tools available all the time, and unfortunately, a lot of times these tools are proprietary and they lock you into one way of doing your work or sharing your designs in one environment. And we often see teams getting fragmented because of the tools that they choose or the teams within their larger organization choose. So we're hoping that Abstract can be that central hub or a collaborative place where designers and stakeholders can still work in the same project together, regardless of the tools they want to use, and still have the same level of visibility, commentary, collaboration, and feedback options. There's a lot of potential there for us to break down some of those barriers, and we hope that you'll join us and share your thoughts on how you'd like to see that happen. So we're really excited to be launching this. We appreciate all of your participation. We'll also have a booth and a whole team of people at Adobe Max in November. So if any of you are going to be there, we'd love for you to stop by and say hi, maybe test drive the tool, perhaps even grab some Abstract swag. So thank you all for being here today. We do have a couple minutes for questions, and I'm happy to stay a few minutes over if we've got more questions going on here. And I'm just going to pull up some FAQs that you can read on the screen, but feel free to ask any questions that you've got. It looks like Matt is asking if the beta runs side by side with the stable release of Abstract or replace it. So you have a couple different options there. I have the stable release of Abstract on my computer. I also have an internal build. So you can close one out and open the other. They don't conflict with each other. So if you want to use the stable build for your sketch files or anything like that, you can use that, and you could use an internal build for XD. If you want to, you can also replace it, so it's up to you. I was just talking to the product team the other day, and they will be providing an internal build for you to download if you want to have access to the most recent features that are being enabled for XD. So anybody who will be joining in the beta will be getting a download for an internal build. All right, can I have sketch files and XD files in the same project? Yes, you can. Right now, as we are working on this, we are recommending to people that they keep their XD files and their sketch files separate. We don't want to, mess up any of your sketch files. If some of our beta features for XD kind of, if anything gets weird, but you are certainly free to do that. It does work just fine. I've done that in some of my test projects. So yes, you can. All right, how's the chat going here? Would we still be able to use XD within Abstract to build a prototype? Yeah, so for XD, what we're doing is we're storing and we are managing the versions of your files. So in terms of XD functionality and everything that you're doing with XD, everything in XD works as it normally would. So if you are creating an XD file, if you are generating those share links in order to share a prototype with linkages and animations and transitions, in XD, you'll still be able to do everything that you were able to do before. What I was mentioning in terms of the prototyping we are trying to support is being able to actually show those linkages and move from artboard to artboard within Abstract, the tool. So that is still to come, but you are absolutely able to make prototypes in XD just like normal. Any other plans in the future roadmap to include other file types? Yes. So we are absolutely always thinking about the ways we can expand. And like I said before, we definitely want to be file type agnostic. That's the goal, is to create this great community where we're breaking down barriers regardless of the design tools you choose. So we have absolutely looked into other tools. We'll probably want to nail down XD files and make sure that this is as close, if not perfectly on par with Sketch before we jump into fully building out the next file type, but that is always the long-term goal. So we will always be working toward that. All right. Any other questions? No questions. Wonderful. Well, I think then we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you everyone for being here. I hope you're as excited as I am about this file type. We are so excited to be working on this and have it go live, and so excited to show it at Adobe Max and be at Max. So thanks again, everybody, for being here. And if you're interested in the beta and not in it yet, go ahead and join in.
See everybody.
Bye.